When it comes to developing a software project, one of the key concerns people have is how much will it cost? So if you've managed to get at least 3 software development estimates, well done. That's the first step in the right direction. Now here comes the tricky part. How on earth do you make sense of it all? As a developer myself, I'll be the first to admit that the software development field is rife with jargon, which can be extremely baffling. So it's normal to feel overwhelmed if you actually have no idea what any of these software development quotes mean. Not to worry though, after watching this video, you should be able to navigate the time, cost, and team size conundrum so that you know exactly which quote is going to align with your project. So let's dig right in. Let me start by saying that people tend to assume that writing a new software program is kind of like building a house or fixing a car. So your development agency should be perfectly capable of providing a reliable estimate ahead of time, just like a mechanical builder would. Of course, for guys or gals like mechanics, it is easy because they're working with known materials, building in known ways. The best reference I can give you is like telling a builder to build a house, but you don't know what kind of house it is, what materials you're going to use, or how big the house is. That's what it's like with a custom software development project. A massive part of the system is being built from scratch. This means that the way it's put together and ultimately going to work are all moving targets. So the path a developer takes and the destination they're going to end up in is unknown from the very start of the journey. So what I'm getting at is a software development cost estimate is not nearly as simple as a building quote or car repair estimate. Over the years of working with clients at Spring Digital, I've been able to pinpoint certain rules of estimates that I believe to be universally true, or at least nearly true. And one of the most important things you need to understand when reviewing your quote is estimates are wrong nearly every single time. And that's not necessarily your fault or the fault of the developer quoting you. It's more of a case of it's just too early in the development cycle to tell. So you shouldn't put too much weight in the first estimated quote you get. Rather, see it for what it is. A rough idea to help you understand how long the project's going to take based on your preferred project methodology. In other words, how you do the work. So how does this help? Well, when reviewing the quotes you've received, you should calculate the time estimates as an average of the 3 quotes for each feature. This might not necessarily affect exactly how long it will take, but at least it won't leave you wondering why the project is taking longer to execute than initially estimated. So that's how you can make sense of the time of the project in relation to cost. You also have to consider the team size and how that will impact your quote. Unfortunately, again, there's no magical number that an agency can give you here because each software project is quite radically different. But to give you an idea, in 2019, the State of Code surveyed 1,100 developers of companies in all different sizes. The data indicated that most ideal team consisted of 7 operational members. Ideal, in this context, meant that there was a good balance of efficiency, transparency, and communication ability. Another concept to consider is the Ringelmann effect. And this is essentially generalizes an individual group members tend to be less productive as the team size increases. I'm sharing this with you more so to help you have some sort of idea of benchmark to work off. But, and there is a big but, it all comes down to how complex your product is, what the time to market is, and whether 2 or more feature teams can work on different components at the same time. So when looking at your quotes, as a rule of thumb, watch out for your project being over-resourced, leading to unnecessary costs, or under-resourced, leading to late or even non-delivery risks. If you're being quoted on a big team, find out if the feature work is going to be split up, so that they're going to be working on things in parallel. Or if you've been quoted on a smaller team, ask them how they intend to overcome single-person risks or deal with project delays. Now let's run through the 6 sections you should expect to see in all your vendor quotes. If one or more of these things isn't in there may be a few red flags to keep an eye out for. Number 1, there should be an executive summary at the top that outlines the problem, their solution, and why working with their team is best for your project. It might not be entirely necessary to have this, but it's definitely helpful if you need to present quotes to various stakeholders. Number 2, there should be a clearly laid out problem statement and goal section. This is probably the most important section in the quote, so make sure your vendor has clearly articulated your problem areas and what the goals of the solution are. A great vendor will also include a potential return on investment statement if that's the purpose of your solution. Number 3, they must indicate what method they'll use to build the project. Methodology selection heavily affects price. For example, an agile method can lead to cost blowout, and a waterfall method can impact time to complete the project. So you'll need to weigh up the benefits and pitfalls of whatever method they've chosen to go with. Number 4, the quote should give you a good idea of who they are. It's important to know the key players you're going to be working with and what the expected rules of the game are. Look, you don't need to know every person on the team, but at least who you can expect to bump into on the journey. Number 5, there should be a proposal that breaks down what work is going to be done to make your project successful. This is definitely the meatiest part of the quote. And all I can really say is read it well so that you don't miss anything. If there is any ambiguity on a feature or task, go back to your vendor and say, hey, my assumption is this feature has X and includes Y. Can you confirm this? Let's look at an example. My assumption is that the login system you're proposing has an email and password requirement. Forgot password feature and login with Facebook. Can you confirm? Once you have all of these confirmed, you can put each feature side by side to help ensure you're comparing apples to apples. And number 6, there should be a comprehensive time, cost, and effort estimate. It's usually the last part of the document and probably the first page you're going to flick to. Sure, it makes sense to get an idea of what kind of cost you're looking at first, but the cost makes so much more sense when you look at it in the context of parts 1 to 5. So if you look at the cost first, just make sure you flick back to page 1 and understand how the vendor eventually got to that estimate. Those are the 6 main things you should expect to be in your quote. But you can expect a few other parts like company history, what tools they're planning on using, their testing methodology, communication processes, what they expect of you, who the leadership team is, and what happens after the product launches. Okay, the last thing I'm going to touch on, which is I'm sure is the very first thing you had on your mind, is should you go with the cheapest option? Or will the most expensive option pay off in the long run? My answer to that is, it depends. You need to figure out what's good value for money. You want a vendor that's offering the highest quality, a fair price proposal, a well thought out methodology, and resourceful team size. It may be that the cheapest quote offers you all of this, or it may be that you're going to have to go with the expensive quote. That's a judgment call you're going to have to make. I think I've touched on quite a bit of detail here to help you make sense of your quote, but I'll leave you with one more final thought. Ask questions, and then ask more questions, and keep asking questions until you get all the answers you need. Once you have all the clarity you can get, then you'll be in the best place to make an informed decision. Don't be shy and don't feel bad. Remember, these companies want to work with you. If they're getting annoyed at you trying to clarify things, they're probably not the right fit in the first place, because you can expect that you'll have plenty more questions to ask throughout the development process. So, if you're feeling bad about asking questions now, then you're gonna run into some trouble when you start working with them. Anyway, that's it from me. If you're in the process of looking for quotes and a developer, feel free to head over to our website and see if we might be able to help you out. And if you found this video valuable, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn more about bringing your app or software idea to life. See you next time.